Welcome to Learning Pro Intros. I am here today with the wonderful Bianca Woods. Bianca, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I work as the Senior Manager of Programming for the eLearning Guild, which has nothing to do with computer programming and everything that has to do with programming in person and online events. A lot of my work is with speakers and finding the right speakers and topics for our events, as well as keeping on top of what's going on in the industry, creating resources for people in the eLearning Guild community, all sorts of really nifty things, sort of helping people in instructional design do instructional design. I also have a little side gig where I have a learning design company called Clever Raptor. And so what I specialize in is helping people use visuals for learning as well as presentation design.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen actually some of your work from Clever Raptor, and my
Okay.
favorite is maybe like the subway sign. I just happened to check that one out. And
Oh,
you
so
go
was
through and
that.
you have like the broken ATM, and then you show us what would have been better, and then you show us the subway sign that like looks okay, but isn't really, and you redesign that. So that's really neat. And folks who are definitely new or aspiring could learn a lot from going and checking out your blog there
Oh,
at Clever
thanks.
Raptor. Yeah, and then the eLearning Guild too. I mean, if you are new to this field, it's such an important website to go check out, an important place to, be a member and learn more. But how did you get into all of these things? Because, I'm sure folks at home would love to know.
Yeah, so like a lot of people in our field, I had sort of a weird, windy route to getting here. So I used to be a classroom teacher, and I'm certified to teach both art and history.
Wow.
And long story short, I am Canadian, but lived for several years in the United States. I finished up my undergrad in Florida, taught for a year there, and really just wanted to move back to Canada. So I did, jumped through all the hoops to get my certification to work up here, and then there were no more teaching jobs.
Oh no.
And that was many, many years ago. There are still no more teaching jobs. So I was working as an EA, trying to figure out how do I crack the getting into a teaching job when there weren't any.
Mm-hmm.
And an acquaintance of mine was like, well, why aren't you looking at instructional design jobs? And I had no idea what instructional design was at the time. When you're training to be a teacher, they typically don't tell you about it. And
Nope.
it's interesting because so many of the skills that you use as a classroom teacher translate very well into instructional design. So I went back to school. I went and got a degree in, it's a mouthful, educational media design and technology, which is essentially just how do you use media and tech to teach people stuff? The program was with Full Sail. They just call it instructional design now. And I'm like, that's way less of a mouthful.
Fits on my application.
Yeah, really loved the program there. It was very, very practical. I had really nice portfolio pieces coming out of it, which that's always nice for getting a job.
Definitely.
And then since then, I've been working as an instructional designer. I've worked at one of the big Canadian banks. I've done some contracting, lot of nifty roles at the bank. The nice thing about working at a big company is there's lots of opportunity to move around. And so I did some stuff that was technically in instructional design, but in very different areas of it. And then I even had a communications role, which my boss, when she was trying to sell me on it, said, all right, it's technically not labeled instructional design, but you're doing instructional design. And then I moved over to the eLearning Guild, and I've been here for almost 4 years now,
Wow,
working on the program.
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my anniversary will be April 1st. And
Oh,
the
that
thing I
really
always
soon.
like to say is, they had my official start date on April 1st so that if it didn't work out, they could just say it was a joke.
I'm sure they're very lucky to have you.
But yeah, it's been a really neat journey. You know, I loved being a classroom teacher, but I love being an instructional designer too. It's scratches different itches in some way, but that thing where you're helping people learn new skills, it applies no matter what. So if you're someone who is teaching and you're looking to pivot or just want something different, moving into instructional design is a really neat career path that not everyone knows about.
Yes, definitely. And I say that because I came from higher ed. So
Oh, nice.
I totally hear you. And I agree. Teachers are so well equipped to do the work we're doing. There's a few extra things you learn along the way. And I'm sure your
Absolutely.
program prepared you. But teachers are great instructional designers in my experience. So let's say whether they're teachers or not, is there one piece of advice you would give to folks who are either new to the field or who want to be a part of the field eventually?
Yeah, and this is a really good piece of advice for people who are moving in from teaching, but from any other area as well. Figure out how to speak to the business. I think that was one of the bigger learning curves for me, because I had just been used to, you're a classroom teacher, you're autonomous. A lot of other roles you'll be pretty autonomous too. And then when you move into instructional design, a lot of it is, how do you speak to the different business partners you're working with in their language? Like, it's not good enough to say this is good for helping people learn. You have to talk to their goals and the things they're trying to accomplish, and use language that maybe isn't natural to you. I think that was, for me, as working as an instructional designer at a bank, and I had never worked at a bank before. A lot of it was learning bank terminology so I could speak to the people I was partnering with in the terms that made sense to them. And that was it. Was an uphill climb trying to learn that terminology, but once I did, it made it so much easier to partner with them and to have them understand what I was trying to accomplish. But yeah, figure out the business terminology, figure out how to speak the business. And if you're in a larger company, you're going to figure out different ways to speak the business depending on which line of business you're with.
Absolutely. Do you have any good tips or tricks for maybe how to do that if you've never done it before?
Make friends with the other instructional designers you work with. The biggest piece of help that I had was someone I had done some contract work with was working at the bank when I was, and we were working on the same team for a while. And what was great is after we would go into meetings, she would do little debriefs with me and then explain some of the stuff that I might not have had the business context for. And so having someone do a little bit of just casual mentorship did so much to help me wrap my head around that quite quickly.
Yeah, it sounds like, just having a person to bounce ideas off, but also to do the translating really made a big impact for you.
Yeah, and it was nice. And, it would just be, 5 minutes here or there. It's not this big, huge to do, but it makes a huge difference. And the nice thing about instructional designers is we tend to be the kind of people who want to help other people.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be at a business where you have coworkers who also work in instructional design, a lot of them will be happy to help you.
It is a really wonderful field. Everybody's so nice. I really can only think maybe out of the hundreds of people I've met, one that didn't love me or, that we didn't get along great, but
maybe they're just having an off day.
Fine. Yeah. We're fine. But most people are genuinely trying to, help each other, give resources, share openly. It's really a wonderful field.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of teaching, because it's that same kind of personality that's drawn to the field, the kind of person who loves sharing, who isn't going to hoard knowledge.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not going anywhere. I don't know about you.
Me either.
So is there anything we didn't talk about today that maybe you want to share with people before we sign off?
Just as we're speaking about people who are new to the field, the thing that you mentioned about it's a great community, find ways to tap into that community. Something that really helped me wasn't just the people that I was working with, but tapping into the broader community of people in instructional design, learning and development online. And it was great to have that community of people I worked with in the same office, but tapping into people online through things like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook helped me see the breadth of what people are doing in this field and help push me even further. And it's so easy to find our little crew online, and they can help you a lot as you're growing your career.
Yeah, that's how we found each other.
Yeah.
In the eLearning Guild Facebook group, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bianca. Those were great tips, and I hope people will go check out your work over at Clever Raptor and the eLearning Guild, and that everybody at home has a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.